Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
The future of Raleigh's Red Hat Amphitheater is up for discussion today. Why some people who live nearby say plans to move the venue could isolate them from downtown.
Also, the rite of passage for many teens is running into roadblocks. We're talking about driver's education. Many students are on wait lists for months. We'll take a look at how state leaders are addressing this problem.
And if you've stepped outside, you've felt the difference. Our dew point is dropping, that muggy meter feeling more tolerable. I'll show you when it feels refreshing and how long it'll stay that way coming up.
Today, people are sharing their thoughts on plans to relocate Raleigh's Red Hat Amphitheater. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. Thanks for joining us. While we won't know what happens with the downtown venue until the council votes next month, today is an important step in understanding what the community wants. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is there. Sean, are they expecting a lot of input today?
Amphitheater where it's quiet, but it won't be quiet downtown during this meeting. Nearly 2/3 of the people speaking today will be there to support this move of Red Hat. But we have heard pushback on this from a local neighborhood association, and that we've heard other residents as well that have reached out directly to us saying that that neighborhood association doesn't necessarily represent their true feelings. Now, this is what we're looking at. The expansion of the convention center is going to force Red Hat to move. The plan currently leading the way would shift it across Lenore Street and close a small portion of South Street. Some in the Boylan Heights Neighborhood Association have expressed concerns about the possible closure, but business leaders here say not going forward with this plan could put downtown Raleigh at risk of losing the amphitheater altogether.
That would be a devastating loss to downtown. So, you know, we're downtown, we don't have the arena, and we don't have a sports venue. This is one of our most meaningful amenities we've got, and it drives a lot of traffic.
Bill King there with the Downtown Raleigh Alliance says Red Hat is expected to drive over $30 million in economic impact to downtown this year, with over 100 days of activation every year. Now, public comment is expected to take place in just about an hour down at the Raleigh Municipal Building. And we'll, of course, have more on that later this evening. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, Raleigh.
A new unit at the Raleigh Police Department is decreasing response times for drivers who get in a crash. You may have seen these white trucks on the road. The Civilian Crash Investigator Unit launched in July. Since then, they've taken more than 350 calls, which is a fourth of the calls RPD would get in that time frame. They respond to property damage wrecks only, not those with injuries or deaths.
Sometimes it's people's worst days. They're just trying to get to work, trying to get food, and they accidentally hit somebody or somebody hits them. And I really just like to see them not have to wait as long, because I know the Raleigh PD is really busy here.
Coming up at 4 and 5:30, WRAL's Chelsea Donovan takes a deeper look into the new unit and how it's helping people.
A weather pattern change begins today. Our temperatures cool, our humidity drops. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio right now with a look at how it feels right now and how long we'll stay comfortable. Elizabeth.
We're going to have a nice stretch of this beautiful weather, and you may get used to it. Don't, because it's not going to last that long. Today is the 20th of August, and so this is a time of year where we typically still see some very hot and sticky conditions. And so this is sort of a sneak peek, a preview of what's to come. It's beautiful out here right now. We are under the clouds, but it feels wonderful. It's 77 degrees, and our dew point is down to 63. Now, that dew point is likely to drop some more. We're going to see it dropping on into the 50s later on today, and possibly even into the 40s tomorrow. And that just means a huge reduction in our humidity. So looking forward to that, and I'm sure a lot of folks will be as well. Looking around in the gardens, not a whole lot of people here right now, but I tell you what, with this beautiful weather, hopefully we'll see more people coming to visit. There's still plenty in bloom. We're known for our azaleas, but it's still a beautiful place to hang out here near downtown Raleigh. Take a look at our muggy meter. In the 60s right now, puts us at tolerable, but soon we're going to drop to comfy and then refreshing. We're going to hold it at comfy at least through Saturday, and we're going to see some very comfortable temperatures to go along with it. This afternoon, highs will be in the low to mid 80s, and so just a few degrees warmer than it is right now. And tomorrow morning, it's going to feel very nice, 50s in the north and low to mid 60s elsewhere. Coming up, I'll show you when we get back to a more summer-like pattern and why.
This is a problem that's been frustrating families around the state, the backlog for kids trying to take driver's education courses. WRAL has been covering this issue for years. In the last few minutes, state leaders just wrapped up a meeting looking into the problems driving that backlog. WRAL's Eric Miller was listening in and joins us now. Eric, where do these problems start?
Well, Jeff, like a lot of issues, state leaders say this is coming down to cost. During that State Board of Education meeting, driver's ed coordinators said departments are short-staffed right now, and it's getting more expensive to hire teachers. At the same time, costs are also going up to buy and maintain the cars these kids are using during driver's ed's programs. And these programs are serving more students right now than they're actually budgeting for. All of this adds up to a lot of frustration for families trying to get their kids through driver's ed. That includes the Haas family, who spent hours driving to 4 different DMVs yesterday trying to get this taken care of.
It's really annoying, honestly, because I've been waiting so long. Like, I'm already past the deadline to get it on my birthday for when I turn 16, my actual driver's license, so it's kind of annoying.
During this morning's meeting, we also heard from the North Carolina PTA, a director there stressing that this issue is really hitting rural families hard, since those communities often have the longest drives and little public transit for kids to use as an alternative.
Eric, thank you. Day 2 of the Democratic National Convention kicks off with more big names taking the stage. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama are expected to affirm why the Harris-Walz ticket is what the country needs. As Rebecca Castor reports, today's theme is a bold vision for America's future.
Democrats opened night 1 of their convention by paying tribute to President Biden. His address seen as both a farewell and a look to the future.
I gave my best to you for 50 years.
It was just last month when the president dropped his re-election bid following low poll numbers and pressure from leaders in his own party.
His job was to save there was a battle for the soul of our democracy, and that's exactly what he's doing by passing the torch to Kamala Harris tonight.
Our state delegation was 100% behind President Biden until he chose to step aside.
And all this talk about how I'm angry at all those people who said I should step down, that's not true. I love my country more, and we need to preserve our democracy.
Also passing the torch Monday night, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
When a barrier falls for one of us, it falls. It falls and clears the way for all of us.
The Obamas will highlight night 2 of the Democratic Convention with the theme, A Bold Vision for America's Future. Meanwhile, former President Trump and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, are in Michigan and Wisconsin, targeting Harris on crime and safety.
Kamala Harris was one of the leading voices in the defund the police movement. She is anti-law enforcement. She is pro-criminal.
That was Rebecca Castor reporting. This afternoon, former President Donald Trump will deliver remarks at a crime and safety event in Howell, Michigan. His running mate, J.D. Vance, will also address the topic at an event in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Then tomorrow, Trump and Vance will be in North Carolina, in Asheboro. The campaign says they will deliver remarks on national security at the North Carolina Aviation Museum at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. WRAL's Ashley Rowe will be at the rally to bring us live reports throughout the day on WRAL News and on WRAL.com.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, several opportunities to prevent the main mass shooting that happened in October of 2023 were missed. This is all according to an independent commission that was tasked with reviewing it. All of this information coming out today. The findings showed that the local sheriff's office and the shooter's Army Reserve unit, they both failed to take action that might have prevented that shooting. Robert Card killed 18 people and hurt 13. It was determined that the sheriff's office could have used Maine's yellow flag law to secure his firearms the month before the shooting, but they did not. Also, the commission determined the leaders of Card's Army Reserve unit, they ignored recommendations by his mental health providers to ensure weapons were removed from his home. Card was found dead with a self-inflicted gunshot wound days after that shooting.
A popular type 2 diabetes medication could help prevent the progression of the disease. Drug company Eli Lilly says Zepbound cuts the risk of progression to diabetes by 94% in adults with prediabetes and obesity. The 3-year study also found people who took the drug weekly had an average decrease in body weight of nearly 23%. Zepbound is part of a new class of drugs that includes brand name drug Mounjaro, as well as Ozempic for diabetes and Wegovy for weight loss.
Next at noon, the continued pursuit of a ceasefire in Gaza. The deal on the table right now with Israel on board, and the wait for a response from Hamas.
Also, inspecting all Boeing 787 Dreamliners. The mandate from the FAA after a mid-air dive injured more than 50 people.
And a new stretch of highway means a call for local emergency responders to practice in case they're called into duty. At 12:30, a live report from a mock incident on NC 540.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Welcome back. Not sure if this is torturous or not. We're going to give you a live look at Carolina Beach and look at how glorious it looks there. You see a lot of people there on the sand. Temperatures in the low 80s tomorrow, and Thursday also look really nice at the beach as well. You're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
The Israeli military says it recovered the bodies of 6 hostages from southern Gaza. All 6 have been identified. 4 of the men had family members who were also abducted but freed during a November ceasefire. Israeli officials say more than 100 hostages remain held in Gaza, with around a third of them believed to be dead. Raf Sanchez reports the announcement comes as the United States pushed for a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken heading to both Egypt and Qatar today as he continues to pursue a ceasefire deal in Gaza. Yesterday, here in Israel, he met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he emerged from that meeting saying Israel has agreed to the American ceasefire proposal that is currently on the table. But as of now, Hamas has not signed on. The militant group has a long list of criticisms of this American plan. It says it makes too many concessions to Netanyahu, including allowing Israeli forces to remain on that critical border between Egypt and Gaza. Blinken says the best path forward to alleviate the suffering of Palestinian civilians is for Hamas to agree to this deal and then move swiftly to talking about the technical details, like the exact ratio of exchanging hostages for prisoners. Also today, Israel announcing it has recovered the bodies of 6 more hostages from Gaza, among them 79-year-old Avraham Munder. He was kidnapped on October 7th, along with his wife, his daughter, and his 8-year-old grandson, Ohad. We have met the Munder family many times over the last 10 months. They campaigned tirelessly to try to bring their grandfather back safely after Ohad, his mother, and grandmother were freed in an earlier hostage deal back in November, but that was not to be. So this is a heartbreaking outcome for that family. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
BMW is recalling more than 720,000 vehicles over concerns of a possible short circuit in the water pump. The recall includes some crossovers, including the X1 and X5, along with some 5 Series sedans. Dealers will inspect and replace the water pump and plug a connector and install a protective shield for free. BMW is aware of about 18 customer complaints. So far, there have not been any reports of accidents or injuries. The FAA is requiring the inspection of all Boeing 787 Dreamliners following an incident in March. That's when a LATAM Airlines plane went into a sudden mid-air dive, injuring more than 50 passengers. The FAA says the cause of the dive was related to the uncommanded movement of the captain's seat. That caused the autopilot to disconnect. There have been 5 reports of similar issues on board 787s. The directive calls for the inspection of captains and first officer seats within 30 days.
Some California sunbathers will have to find another beach after an invasion of sorts. The city of Monterey's Parks Division has temporarily closed San Carlos Beach due to a large number of sea lions there. They seem to be clustering around Monterey's old Fisherman's Wharf. All marine mammals fall under a Marine Mammal Protection Act. People who harass, feed, capture, or kill any marine mammal could face a hefty fine or even jail time. They're sunbathing too.
Yeah. feeling like we have Monterey Park weather, California weather right now, right? Low 80s and just a mix of sun and clouds. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner out on the WRAL weather patio, and the humidity will start to dip down and feel really nice.
It feels great out here right now. There's a little hint of a breeze and the sun's behind the clouds. I was out a little while ago with some sunshine. It definitely feels warmer in the sun, but it's delightful out here right now. We'll take another live look at the gardens, and again, all is quiet out here currently. Our temperature is 77 and our dew point 63, and a dew point of 63 is pretty comfortable compared to what we often see in August, which would be a dew point of 73, and that's a big difference. It feels just a lot more uncomfortably muggy and sticky with a dew point up into the 70s. So enjoying this out here for sure today. We've had some pretty hot days where it was kind of, I felt like I didn't draw the short straw, but today this is a phenomenal place to be. Let's take a look at the visible satellite, and this is just a high resolution satellite that shows us where clouds are and where they aren't. And there are a lot of parts of the viewing area where we're not seeing cloudy conditions. We do still just have a little boundary that's sitting right in the middle of the viewing area where the clouds are continuing to redevelop as that cooler air is filtering in. But for the most part, it's a mix of sun and clouds, and we should see increasing sunshine through the afternoon here in the Triangle, where we're continuing to see some clouds right now. 83 in Raleigh, 82 in Durham, and 85 for Fayetteville for the high this afternoon. By Thursday morning, we're looking at widespread temperatures in the 50s, and that's normal for late September. But don't feel like September is going to be here and just stick around just yet. We still have the potential for some hotter weather next week. 69 is our normal low. We tend to see the lowest temperature of the day around 7 o'clock in the morning. And so we're going to feel some lovely conditions tomorrow heading out the door. 62, 59 Thursday morning, which is 10 degrees below normal. And then low 60s continue into the weekend. I do love a Saturday morning run at Umstead. And man, if I can get out there this week, it's going to feel really nice. 89 is our normal high, and we are well below that all the way through Saturday. But by Sunday, it starts to warm up again. And yes, we do have one day in the 7-day forecast in the 90s. This is a look at how many 90 or hotter days that we've seen in the Triangle. 58 so far this year, and the average is 37 through yesterday. So we are way above the average, and we still have a few more probably to deal with. As a matter of fact, the average last 90-degree day happens on September the 12th, and that's just a little over 3 weeks from now. So hey, hold on. It's we're going to continue to see these cool temperatures coming our way. We take a look at our temperature change. The blue shaded area is where temperatures are below normal, and a good bit of the country experiencing that, and that continues into the weekend. And our muggy meter to go along with it, we're sitting at tolerable right now. By tomorrow morning, we drop all the way down to refreshing, and then we're going to hold it at comfy Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So just some beautiful weather coming our way. The green shaded area is where the humidity is. We have a flow coming out of the north, right out of Canada, bringing in that drier, cooler air. But the warmth and humidity sits just to our south, and it does begin to swing back into the area as we wrap up the weekend. So we're going to see 85 on Saturday, but then 88 on Sunday and 90 again on Monday. And much of next week does look warm, but it shouldn't be too much longer before this is here to stay. We're going to take a look at the tropics and show you what's out there and what could be coming.
Elizabeth, thanks. When school starts next week, thousands of students will get new guidance on how they can use artificial intelligence in their studies. At 5:30, 5 on your side's Keely Arthur explains where the line is between using it as a tool and using it to cheat.
Also, good news for home buyers. This evening at 6, WRAL's Destiny Patterson explains how much inventory is going up for sale in the Triangle. And still ahead this noon, politicians are taking aim at the economy in the run-up to the November election. Many are zeroing in on grocery prices. Coming up, we'll take a look at whether the government can regulate food prices. Also,
a diverse lineup of performers took the stage on the first night of the DNC. The message behind the music later.
it's a topic that affects every American voter. Get ready to hear a lot about grocery prices in the run-up to November's elections. Karen Kafa explains the real deal with food prices and inflation.
Presidential candidates aiming for the kitchen table.
Grocery prices have skyrocketed.
I will take on the high costs
that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food.
An element of the economic debate that hits every voter. Last month, overall inflation slowed to its lowest level since March 2021. But when the rate of inflation decreases, prices are still rising, just at more normal rates. Grocery inflation peaked at a year-over-year increase of 13.5% in August 2022 and has steadily fallen. Last month's report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed overall grocery prices up 1.1% year-over-year. But Joseph Balagtas, professor of agricultural economics at Purdue University, says individual items will still see spikes based on supply, demand, and external factors. Like eggs, for example, up 19% over 1 year ago because of avian flu.
Egg producers, poultry producers have to destroy birds, flocks of birds that would otherwise lay eggs and produce chicken meat. And so we have a reduction in the supply of eggs and higher egg prices.
And beef and pork prices, too, mostly due to summer demand. Grocery prices are up about 20% since the pandemic year in 2020, which means a $100 grocery cart now costs $120. One bright spot for consumers, wages are growing faster than food inflation.
For the first time in history, a bar of gold is worth $1 million. Most gold bars are usually traded internationally by central banks and bullion dealers. They see the precious metal as a long-term, reliable store of value during economic turmoil. That's because when interest rates fall, gold prices tend to rise.
A real-time response to a fake emergency. How local emergency crews are becoming acquainted with a new stretch of road set to open in Wake County.
And here's a pop quiz for parents and caregivers. When should a child stay home sick from school? Coming up, guidelines to help prevent illnesses from spreading through the classroom. And here's a look at your winning North Carolina Education Lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
First responders are learning about and training on the new stretch of 540 that doesn't open for a couple of weeks.
13 different agencies got together. They're going through a mock emergency so they can familiarize themselves with the area before you start driving on it. WRAL's Brett Neese is live at that training site in Apex. Brett, emergency crews can't train like this very often. It's pretty realistic.
Exactly, Jeff, and it's so rare that they're able to train on an actual road before it even opens. It's not often that they get to do that. That's why it's so invaluable, today's training. Crews have now left the scene. They are debriefing how today went. So I want to show you the scenario that they went through. Take a look at this. You can see that there is an overturned box truck that is carrying hazardous materials. It overturned onto that car and trapped a driver inside. Crews responded in real time to this scenario. They assessed the situation, and they even called for UNC Air Care to fly a patient to the hospital. This is as close to a real-life scenario as they can get.
As close as you can get, and so when it really does happen, you got a plan and you know what to do, and you're not fumbling and stumbling through it.
Firefighters say cross-training like this allows them to learn how different departments handle things. As far as when Phase 1 of Complete 540 will reopen, Tropical Storm Debbie pushed it back to a opening date, a grand opening date, to after Labor Day. That's so construction crews can get back out here and complete all the work that they have to do before you get to drive on it. Live in Apex, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama will speak tonight at the Democratic National Convention, where you're looking live right now inside the United Center in Chicago. Day 2 of the convention kicks off today. Obama and the First Lady are expected to speak later tonight. Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff will also deliver an address today. According to the Harris campaign, it'll put a spotlight on trusted messengers from key battleground states over the next few days. On Thursday, Governor Roy Cooper will be among the final speakers. The Georgia State Election Board passed a new rule last night, giving local elections officials additional power to investigate ballot counts before certifying the results. Critics believe the board is making it easier to contest the election results if former President Trump loses again in Georgia. Last week, Georgia's Republican Secretary of State voiced concern with the actions of the election board.
Covering Wake County, school leaders plan to have enough Chromebooks for every student this year. Crews at a warehouse in Apex are working to meet the demand for new and refurbished laptops. They are replacing 25,000 older devices. About 6,000 more should be ready when school starts next Tuesday. Today, student orientation is happening for Springfield Middle School in Wilson County, less than 2 weeks after it was badly damaged by a tornado. Families of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders will be at Lucama Elementary School tonight for orientation. The tornado that hit August 8th tore off the roof and knocked down the walls of the 6th and 7th grade wings of Springfield Middle. The school plans to use mobile units for some classrooms. Others will be moved into the 8th grade wing. The first day of school is Monday.
Renee, we know it's very difficult for students to remain consistent in their studies if they're constantly out of the classroom. A number of school districts nationwide are facing concerning levels of absenteeism still in this post-COVID era. Kevin Duretsky explains what parents need to know when it comes to giving kids a sick day.
With the new academic year getting underway, education isn't the only thing being spread in the classroom. With many schools reporting high levels of absenteeism since the COVID-19 pandemic, health officials are giving parents a refresher course about when to keep sick kids home.
An AP analysis of data from 40 states and D.C. shows absenteeism got worse in each state except Arkansas from 2018 to 2022.
Many districts continue to report high rates of absences, with parents more cautious about sending their kids to school even when they're feeling slightly ill. The most recent guidance by the CDC calls for the public to treat COVID-19 like the flu or RSV. Some health experts hope it encourages fewer students to miss class, even if they have mild symptoms, including a runny nose, headache, or cough. However, the American Academy of Pediatrics says children with fevers should be kept out of school. If they've been fever-free for 24 hours without the use of fever-reducing medications, they're okay to return to class.
It's good to stay up on your health and your wellness.
Medical experts say the time to take children to the doctor is...
If they're starting to sneeze more, cough more, be a bit tired, it's important to recognize those signs early, get them seen, and determine if they have caught something.
That's Kevin Uretsky reporting. Regular exercise, a healthy diet, and plenty of sleep are 3 simple ways to boost a child's immune system.
In less than 3 months, voters will choose the next state superintendent of public education. We're conducting a survey to find out which issues matter most to you and the qualifications you think the leader should have. You can use your phone to scan this QR code right there on the bottom of your screen, and it will take you directly to the survey. Or you can search Back to School on WRAL.com, and you'll find the survey at the top. A big setback for Boeing's newest jetliner, the structural issues with the plane it discovered from test flights.
Plus, does it seem like mosquitoes really like to bite certain people? I know Renee feels like she's targeted. The science behind why some attract the insects more than others. Create your own personal news feed on the WRAL News app. Sign in, and the topics you choose will sync across all your devices on the My News screen page. Stay up to date by downloading the WRAL News app.
BurgerFi's cash flow is drying up, and that could send the company into bankruptcy. The chain, known for selling burgers sourced from Angus beef, says it only has $4 million on hand. The company blames poor sales on store closures, higher wages for workers, and price increases on food. BurgerFi operates 4 burger restaurants in the Triangle. Japanese-owned 7-Eleven confirms it received a $39 billion buyout bid from the Canadian owner of Circle K convenience stores. If the deal goes through, it would create one of the world's largest retail groups. Although 7-Eleven traces its origins to Dallas, Texas, a Japanese entrepreneur is credited with turning it into a global brand. He died last year at the age of 98.
Boeing has discovered cracks in the structure of its 777X jetliner in initial test flights. It's the latest setback for the long-delayed plane. Boeing will ground its test fleet while it replaces the defective part. The company has more than 500 orders for the new aircraft. It plans to start delivering to customers next year. The 777X is designed for longer flights and can carry about 400 people. It's currently about 5 years behind schedule. Harley-Davidson is dumping its diversity policies and initiatives. Company officials have also ended supplier diversity spending goals. The motorcycle maker had been facing online pressure from conservative activist Robbie Starbuck. In July, Starbuck threatened to expose Harley-Davidson. In a social media post Monday, Starbuck called Harley-Davidson's move a victory for his movement.
It's a question you hear every summer. Why do mosquitoes like me so much? Coming up, a doctor explains why the insects seem to bite some people more than others. Plus,
and between the rousing speeches on day one of the DNC in Chicago, there were musical interludes, the common theme coming up.
the quarterfinals continue live tonight on America's Got Talent. 11 acts will take the stage seeking spots in the semifinals, and one act will get the golden buzzer to send them directly to next month's finals. Mark Barger reports on the acts that grabbed those spots last week.
Balancing is one thing, but balancing a human pyramid while a crowd of thousands is losing its collective mind is another.
This is meaning of Hakuna Matata.
No worry.
No worry.
No worry.
So we got this.
And the Tanzanian quartet persevered last week, earning the golden buzzer from Sofia Vergara and a spot in next month's finale.
You know, human beings, the things that they can do with their bodies, this show is amazing.
Tell me about the plans you're making.
Richard Goodall's plans keep changing after America voted the singing middle school janitor into the semifinals.
When that music starts playing, that's my home. I'm in my zone and I'm good.
Also semifinals bound is an act with echoes of last season's winner. Ronnie and her pal Rhythm glad to have the chance to keep dancing.
It's fun to see the appreciation for the hard work, and it's fun to see him performing and enjoying it and having the best time.
Opting to play their own music has been a win for North Carolina trio Ashes and Arrows, earning the votes that have them a step closer to the finale.
For it all to come to this one moment where it's like you've got 2 minutes on stage to do your thing, it was surreal to be up there.
11 more acts get those same 2 minutes tonight to try to win over America. Mark Barger, NBC News.
Exciting to have North Carolina talent in the finals. America's Got Talent airs tonight at 8 here on WRAL.
Today is World Mosquito Day. Yes, there's a day set aside for those little critters. You can minimize your chances of getting bitten by wearing loose clothing as well as bug repellent, reducing your alcohol intake, and avoiding areas where there's standing water. But they are just naturally attracted to some people more than others, Renee.
We know that mosquitoes are attracted to definitely body heat, and then our carbon dioxide, our exhalation signature. Those are two big factors. But then a third is actually the kind of odor that we emit. And unfortunately, we're not really able to control this much ourselves.
See, that's my musk that keeps
So
them
is it
away,
odor?
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
apparently.
Yeah.
If you do get bitten, be sure to wash the bite with warm soapy water. Apply over-the-counter itch cream and then cover it with a Band-Aid to avoid scratching it. I'm already itching just thinking about it. Right?
It's all the carbon dioxide I'm exhaling if there were a mosquito here.
There's none outside, I can tell you, because it's just perfect. Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio. Not the type of day for mosquitoes, I guess, right?
It's not, and as much as I've stood out here on this patio, I cannot remember being bitten by one. So I don't know. What does that say about how I smell? Fortunately, this is not smell-o-vision, so y'all are safe, I guess. Our humidity is definitely starting to drop off. We started in the upper 60s this morning. We're back down to the low 60s, so very comfortable out here right now, especially with the sun behind the clouds. It feels wonderful. Feeling a bit more like September for us for much of this week, but summer shall return next week. It is the 20th of August, and we don't typically see our last 90-degree day until about the middle of September, so about 3 more weeks or so, and then maybe we'll be out of the intense heat. A beautiful look at our gardens right now, looking just gorgeous. So many colors out here. Even if it's not azalea time, there's so many things blooming, and it just looks lovely. Here's the big picture. We have a front that has moved offshore, and now we have our air coming out of the north, and so straight from Canada, bringing us this nice, dry, very comfortable air mass. Tomorrow morning, when you head out the door, temperatures will be in the low 60s. Tomorrow's high 80 degrees, and then we're just going to hold it there in the low 60s, upper 50s for mornings and afternoons in the low to mid 80s. So definitely feeling like September and not necessarily August. Our normal high temperature is 89 and the normal low is 69. So we're going to keep it below that, which is going to feel just great. The blue shaded area is where, it's starting to feel a little bit like early fall. That's where temperatures are below normal. And we'll see that not just today and tomorrow, but all the way through, say, Saturday or Sunday. But watch how that warmth builds out across the middle of the country. That's where it feels more like summer. That jet stream is going to start to lift northward. We get into a southwesterly flow, and that's really going to start to warm things up. So we will see more of that next week. But hey, that's probably okay. I guess next week school does start for a lot of kids, but over the weekend, maybe Monday before school starts, if you have Wake County school kids, maybe you can get out to the pool maybe one or two more times. Our watering forecast is actually fine, even though we don't have any rain in the forecast between now and Sunday. We don't need any. We're looking really good in terms of our precipitation, anywhere from 225 to 275% of our normal rainfall in our viewing area over the last 30 days. So, yep, it was wet and it continues to be wet, and we're all good. We'll take one last look at Ernesto. It is now just a post-tropical cyclone. It is headed up into the North Atlantic, where it will fizzle out in the next 12 hours or so. So let's say goodbye to Ernesto. And as it is moving away, our rip current danger is lessening a little bit. It's still moderate today. It was high yesterday. If you're headed to the beach this weekend, do remember to give it a check. Not looking at anything developing, though, in the tropics in the next 7 days. But of course, as we get through the next couple of weeks, the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's a 70% chance that we could have some development out there in the tropics. We are in the peak of the hurricane season, so it is definitely time for us to be seeing a good bit of activity in the tropics, but it is certainly nice to have a little bit of a break. And speaking of break, there it is temperature-wise too, just feeling gorgeous all the way into the weekend. Sunday, though, we creep back up to around 88, and we're gonna check off one more 90-degree day at least by next Monday.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Delegates in Chicago are mixing business with pleasure this week. How organizers hope the nightly entertainment will help remind people there what's at stake in November.
And here's a look at the winning Powerball numbers: 1, 2, 15, 23, 28. The Powerball is 10 and the multiplier is 2. Don't go away. We'll be right back. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following. Today, people will share their thoughts on plans to relocate Raleigh's Red Hat Amphitheater.
And the city is considering a plan to close South Street between Dawson Street and McDowell Street to make room for the new amphitheater. It's part of a plan to expand the Raleigh Convention Center. People who live nearby say the relocation can be done without closing part of South Street. City Council's meeting starts at 1 this afternoon, just minutes from now.
A new unit at the Raleigh Police Department is decreasing response times for drivers who get in a crash. The Civilian Crash Investigator Unit launched in July. Since then, they've taken more than 350 calls, which is a fourth of the calls Raleigh police would get in that time frame. They respond to property damage wrecks only, not those with injuries or deaths.
Today, state leaders addressed the backlog for kids trying to take driver's education courses. During today's State Board of Education meeting, driver's ed coordinators said departments are short-staffed and it's getting more expensive to hire instructors. At the same time, costs are also going up to buy and maintain the cars the kids are using to drive in those driver's ed programs.
Talk about an out-of-this-world treat. Space explorers can now enjoy Doritos in zero gravity. Cool Ranch Zero Gravity Doritos swap out the powdered topping with an oil-based coating to keep dust from floating about the spaceship. The chips are also bite-sized to limit the odds of pieces breaking off and contributing to space junk. The new chips will debut on SpaceX Polaris Dawn mission later this month. We'd like it on Earth as well.
Taste test.
Less dust.
Democrats pulled together a variety of entertainment for the convention, but it was the national anthem that earned a standing ovation. Hear the whole thing. The Soul Children of Chicago delivered a soul-stirring rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. Later, four-time Grammy nominee country singer Mickey Guyton put out her 2021 hit All American, making way for another country artist, Jason Isbell. The Alabama gave the delegation a shout-out before singing, Something More Than Free, a song that expresses a willingness to put in necessary labor.
Get ready to embark on the adventure of a lifetime with our pet of the day from Red Barn Rescue. Dory is named for her bright personality and the unique blue spot in one of her eyes. Her striking eyes, oversized ears, and joyful nature make her the perfect companion. Dory is not only adorable, but also incredibly smart. She knows commands and sleeps soundly in her crate. Dory is 3 months old, about 16 pounds. She loves people and wants to be by your side no matter where you go. Visit Red Barn Rescue to learn more about Dory.
So curious and inviting. Today, we'd like to introduce you to another shelter taking part in our yearly Clear the Shelters event. Freedom Ride Rescue is continuing its mission of rescuing and rehabilitating dogs from across the state. Their hands-on approach ensures each dog is loved and prepared and cared for their forever home. During Clear the Shelters, visit Freedom Ride Rescue to meet these deserving dogs and support their life-changing work. Lots to do there, certainly in the month.
Yes. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You can always get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. It's a great feeling out there. Have a good day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.